I wanted to profile out one, just give you a little visibility of it a little bit. If you were the one to have to manage one of these gateway devices or wireless routers or whatever may be in your business, if you were the one that has to manage this, just making sure everybody, for whoever's benefit, they know kind of how to access this thing, what type of settings are on there, what things you should be concerned about. So this is a very standard deployed DSL modem. It does all the flavors of DSL. It's a Zyzel is the vendor. It's a 4825 model. Has the standard, phone line connectivity at the bottom there, the switching interfaces for your LAN network to go to, basic other computers if your network is small. And it has a separate WAN interface should you be trying to go to another, firewall appliance, or depending on your configuration. That one's not used as much. You may be able to, if you had that new out of the box, if the technician was there and set it up, this may be left behind type of stuff, like a quick start guide, tells you some things about the device. It gives you the default IP address and things that will allow you to connect to it. And I wanted to draw a little bit of attention to the part that I've highlighted over here on the right side. It's identifying a point on the back of this device that shows you those default username and passwords, default IP addresses. And this was very standard for many vendors, be that Zyzel or Cisco, Netgear, Linksys, whatever was at the time. They all use these default username passwords, and you could go online and you could figure it out. So if it never was changed, it's all defaults. That's kind of changing now. A lot of times the vendors are going to randomized passwords, they're device specific. So yeah, going forward, pay very unique attention to the little stickers that are in the box or on the back of the devices there, which is that's default configuration to start. Or if you ever have to like push the little button in to factory reset this thing, it's going to go back to these defaults, and you're not going to be able to find those just anywhere. So you say you're in your own network, your own business, and you say, okay, well, I've never connected to this device before. How exactly do I do that? There's a few ways to just kind of jump in there. If your device, your computer, laptop, whatever, is already connected to that network, you know that you're using your internet service, you're going to be looking at its IP addressing. And Dave mentioned this. You're going to see some more internal based addressing, like a 192.168. something IP address, or a 10. something network. These are all local addressing schemes. And so you're basically trying to figure out what is sourcing this information on my network. So I just kind of walked through from Windows settings. I went through network and sharing center. I clicked on the network that was active here, and then I went to the details to show more about what I was connected. And then it kind of showed me, okay, well, this is your IP address. This is the size of subnet you're in. And this is all kind of network technical stuff. But when we get into like the default gateway or the provider of DHCP, DNS, these are kind of the server point of view within that router. And that's literally its address. It's the address of the router providing these services. So I just highlighted out that default gateway address, which would be the same as the one that was on the back of the box there in this case, or in the quick start guide. So if you really wanted to be technical, you can also do this through a command line prompt. You just basically bring up your command line, just type in ipconfig, abbreviated like that, ipconfig, and it'll go right to your primary connections there. In this case, example was a wireless network adapter, and this is its IPv6 address, this is its IPv4 address, and this is the source of that gateway. Again, that 192.168.1 just very common in this type of equipment. So, okay, so we want to connect to this thing. We're going to take that address. We're going to go to a web browser. We're going to type it into the address field. We're going to hit enter. It's going to bring up some type of a command or login screen here, asking you for that username and password. If it's default, you know where to get that now. If it's something It's definitely recommended to go in and change this from defaults. You should be putting on something that just within your business or your network administrator, whoever's working on this. Definitely good practice to change those. So then we get signed into this thing, and I guess I could make this a slightly bigger. You're seeing the sidebar there too. Apologize for that. This is kind of the default status page. Just tells you some stuff about your router and what it's doing, different links that are connected, status of incoming connection. More specific things that you may be wanting to get into is on the bottom bar there, you have some different options that are going to represent different fields. So under this example, we've pulled up the menu field that goes to wireless here. I'm going to move this. There we go, the zoom. Covering up that. So network settings at the bottom, and then we went to wireless. So this would be where we can set up some of the wireless fields. This specific router had two different radios. One was a 2.4 gigahertz network. One was a 5 gigahertz network. I won't really get into that today, but you can study that on your own as far as what's the advantage of both of those frequencies. When would you create two separate networks being broadcast, and what type of devices would you be connecting there? You can research that. You're going to be given the network a name and especially a password, and this is where Dave kind of got into that. Based on your security mode highlighted down here would get into kind of the most advanced security related to Wi-Fi, all the way up to that WPA2 or 3 or the most current one that's available on your router. Here's another example of one that you may want to be aware of, that all routers at some point have some type of a user account settings. This happened to be under the maintenance tab. So we went to our user account. This is the primary admin sign-in that was used, and over on the far right side, we have the ability to select that to modify it. That's the one I was telling you. We definitely want to change that, so not just anybody that jumps on the Wi-Fi network has the ability to get in this box and start changing configuration. One other last example would be, well, this is the follow-up to that. This is once I clicked on the modify field, username, password change, and then update that. This is one of the last things from a security standpoint. These devices from the vendors are rolled out with a specific configuration on them, a firmware file. It's placed there to do everything you see that it can do, and over time they may realize that there were certain things they programmed which are now vulnerable or unsecure, especially for this device that is facing a public internet. And so they may have the need as a vendor, like a Zyzel, they may have the need to put out an updated configuration that would make this router more secure. And so they have a place in here in the far right tab there under maintenance again to do firmware upgrades. Well, when you get in there, it's just going to basically ask you for a file. It says, well, this is the current firmware version. This is, where the file is. And so if you want to change it, you have to tell it where this new file exists. So you don't currently have that yet. So next step would be to go to something like this example for Zyzel. You're going to their download library online. You're basically providing your model number, which we did. Okay, this is a VMG 4825-B10A. Now that's super long, but it's printed on the bottom of that router. It'll be printed right on the box so you can see it. And then once you reference the right install package for what you're doing, you've got the download option on the right side there to get that file. And of course, you would come back to this point, choose that file location, get it updated. It does do a full reboot on the router, so you'll be down for a little bit. And if for some reason you picked the wrong one, usually it would tell you that it's incompatible. You're not going to be installing a file that shouldn't be on there anyway. So it's going to have to know that it's compatible, and it usually tells you that. So pretty straightforward. This type of stuff, firmware updates, don't happen a lot, but if you've had your device in your network for a while and you've never had to do this, it probably is a good chance there's at least one new updated file out there waiting for that device. So